News Radio 1029 KARN. My name is Brad Schmidt. This is The Schmidt Show. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. 501 403 KARN, 501 403 5276. If you want to join the conversation today, be a part of the discussion, weigh in on any of the things we're talking about as the show goes on. A lot to get into, of course. The big news last week, the Little Rock executive director of the airport, Brian Malinowski, and the shootout that took place between ATF agents made some national news and has sparked a few discussions. I don't think we're going to spend much time on that today. I just want to acknowledge it, that it is still kind of in the news, and there are some national conversations happening, not just about gun control, Second Amendment kind of stuff, but also Sixth Amendment stuff, searches and search warrants, or is it Fourth Amendment? Whatever it is. And some of those discussions as well. So we might get into some of that a little bit today, but I don't want to keep kind of beating the dead horse. I think we all kind of understand the details surrounding that story and what happened with it and what is going on with it. Certainly there's going to be an investigation, and we'll have to wait for the details of that investigation as to what happened or how the shooting occurred and all of that. But we might talk a little bit about search warrants and searches and things like that. Is there maybe a better way to do that? But again, I want to be careful not to just keep beating on that story too much, because I think the answers that we've got are the answers we're going to get, at least for some time, until some of these investigations are up. But like I said, I want to at least acknowledge that it is still in the news, and there is some national conversation happening concerning some of those stories. Another discussion I want to get into, and I want to bring this up because it ties into a couple of things kind of tangentially, I think is maybe the best way to say it. It's not something that is necessarily a specific news story to go along with it. A study from, I believe it was Wallet Hub, mentioned that Arkansas is the fifth most stressed state. Now, say that 5 times fast without messing it up. Fifth most stressed state is the according to Wallet Hub, Arkansas happens to fall into that slot in that ranking. And part of me, these rankings are just kind of dumb, right? Because they always rank these arbitrary things, right? The fifth happiest place to live, the fifth most stressed state. There's we're the 12th most, retirement friendly community in the South, but above Texas, and all of these kind of arbitrary criteria in ranking. So I'm not sure that it's really relevant, but I am curious to know how many of you would consider yourself to be living in a high stress life or a high stress environment, whether it's your job, whether it's your family situation, because I think all of that is very, very arbitrary. It's very personal. And I would say, since I've moved to Arkansas, my life and the stress that I have to manage has diminished significantly. Because before I moved here to Arkansas, I was doing radio part-time. I was doing a construction job part-time. I was working for the railroad on a semi-part-time kind of basis. I was working for my church for a while. I was doing all of these other jobs, and my schedules were crazy and never really had time to do anything. And because all of the jobs that I had were part-time, I couldn't really take vacations and all of these other things. And so my stress since moving to Arkansas has gone down significantly. Like, I love the fact that I get done with my radio show at 6:00. I go home and hang out with my wife, and we kind of do whatever we want to do. We don't have to worry about making sure the kids are fed because our children are grown and taking care of themselves, and they seem to be living pretty happy lives and all of that. And so the biggest stress I've got to worry about is what kind of candy am I going to get my grandson for Easter that my daughter's not going to be mad at me for getting her baby chocolate, right? Like I don't have to worry about all that sort of stress. So we'll get into that a little bit, and where that ties in, how I want to bring this all together is I'm going to actually tie in another news story and a concept. So the news story out of I think this is from Red State is where I found this. It was a kind of an expose that was written, and not like some deep, hey, we found the keys to Area 51 and we exposed the aliens expose kind of thing. But Joe Biden for many, many decades has been telling the story of how he got into public service life, right? How he got away from the corporate law world into, being a prosecutor and a congressman and all of those things. That how did all of that happen? And he's been telling a story about it that has now been revealed to be a lie. Imagine that. And so I want to talk a little bit about that story because there's several questions I want to ask about that. Is you hear this as an excuse why people don't like Donald Trump, why people don't like this particular politician or that particular politician, whether it's someone in their party or someone in someone else's party. The reason they don't like this person or that person is because they quote unquote lie, or they are a liar, or they regularly lie, or whatever. The thing that's interesting to me, though, is everybody seems to ignore the lies of the individuals that they support. They ignore the people who lie as long as they like those people. They don't mind when a business partner lies on a quote and earns them a few extra $1,000. They don't care when a politician of their party or their personal leanings, they don't care about that lie. And where I'm going to tie this all together with the most stressed state and the story of Joe Biden and all that is I was taking a shower this morning, getting ready for the day. And I noticed something on the shampoo bottle that my wife purchased. And on the back of the bottle, it said PETA approved. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, right? Approved by PETA. And it hit me this morning, and I don't know that I've ever heard anybody else talk about this concept. I think it might be original to me if I've maybe heard it somewhere else. I do have a tendency to read a lot and watch a lot of videos and watch a lot of documentaries and information, kind of stuff. So I maybe stole it from somewhere else. So if anybody else has ever heard this before, please let me know. But I came up with this thought that most of our outrage is based on emotional convenience. Because I've done enough study and I've looked into enough history of the organization we call PETA to know that they don't really care about animals as much as they claim to. They care when it's a cute monkey who's having shampoo tested on his eyes to see if it will hurt your eyes or cause allergies or something like that. They care about cute little mice when you're testing makeup on them to make sure it doesn't cause a rash or something like that. But they don't really care about all of the cats and dogs and unwanted pets that their shelters and things that they run across the country are euthanizing dogs and cats and pets at an alarmingly higher rate than basically any other organization. They don't care about pets when they're being euthanized for convenience. But they do care deeply about the cute little mice and monkeys having makeup tested on them. And they care about the cows at the dairy farm that they think are being mistreated. And this goes beyond organizations like PETA. Even the various organizations, whether it's Black Lives Matter or other organizations that claim to care so deeply about black people or minorities and all of that, they care about George Floyd when he's being roughed up by police officers in Minneapolis or St. Paul, but they don't care about black people in Africa who are being restricted in their access to safely refrigerated and prepared meals across the country because they don't have access to electricity. Because if we allow them to build electrical power plants that are using coal to create the power, well, then we're all upset because, you know, the environment, right? Global warming and all of that. So we have to keep people in Africa enslaved and oppressed. But we care so very, very deeply about George Floyd. And so it's the outrage we feel, the outrage we see expressed is based mostly, or at least in my opinion, mostly on whether or not it is emotionally convenient to be outraged over the thing. So, and again, I'm not perfect. I'm sure I do the exact same thing. And I'll probably be able to come up with a few examples of when I've done it. We could all probably do that. But it's something that I want to kind of dig into and tie all of these things together and talk a little bit about today. And so we will get into that as we continue. And if you happen to have been watching us on Twitter or YouTube or on our Facebook or on our website, and you want to continue following what we've just shared with you, what we've teased you with, come on over to our website, click on the Listen Live, click on the app, and download that and listen to it through the app, or just turn on your radio and listen to us that way as well. We'll continue with The Schmidt Show in a moment.